Good afternoon, Dark Horse. Welcome back to the podcast. We are coming back at you again from the mats. Professor, good to be back. Chit chat about some jiu-jitsu. How are you doing?
Greetings, welcome. Good to see you again. Yeah, things are weird all over in a variety of ways. And the more you pay attention, the weirder they are.
Yeah.
Which is amazing for me, because I like weird things.
Yeah.
This is like sitting up against the bottom of my chin. It's going to be...
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Put on your belt. If it's bothering you, then it matters.
Wardrobe malfunction.
These things happen. All right. So let's do a little shout out action. First of all, big thanks to our sponsor. We are coming at you today, care of Dark Horse Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Denver and Longmont. These guys are great. I've known these guys for years.
Great partners, always helping out, great products.
Yes.
High quality.
Love it. Yes. And really, we wouldn't take a sponsorship that we didn't believe in. So, we're really happy to be partnering with Dark Horse for this one. All right. And then on our other housekeeping.
Comments from last time?
Yeah, we got some comments.
We got comments that we get to talk about. The first one from Sean Moffat. Some topics I'm interested in right now are the benefits of meditation and or coming back from a really long setback. You want to start off with meditation or a really long setback / time off the mat?
So I probably go to a long setback because I feel like
it's a big one, super common.
Yeah, I think the setback is a problem that we can examine and kind of look at some tools that would help us go through that. And I think meditation is one of those tools. So it seems like, to me, logically, it makes sense to say, like, okay, setback is a problem we can solve. Meditation is one of the ways that we can solve that, and it would help in some particular ways.
So what happens to everyone in jiu-jitsu at some point is they get injured, life comes up, they got to move, they got a life event that they're not going to be able to train around or through. Like with injuries, I believe it's even a speech in the fundamental class, but it talks about coming in and drilling and or training, because around most injuries, if you hurt your arm, you could like tuck it into your belt and still train. Even if you can't train, you can drill. When I injured my knee, I couldn't do a lot of stuff, but I could still train hooking half guard with that knee. So it's kind of stuck underneath them and it didn't get bent weird. And when I came back, my half guard game was a lot better than it was beforehand. The caveat with the injury is don't make your injury worse by being stubborn or making a bad mistake. Trying to go too hard, trying to do too much, which also is a thing that happens really, really common. So don't do that.
Yeah. For me, I've found a lot of times when I have an injury, little or big, but usually the big ones are a better example. When I have that injury and I'm working through, adapting to the technique, trying to train while not at 100%, all of the adaptations I make, all of the little adjustments I make around that injury, around that thing I can no longer do, overall make me better. I broke my collarbone and kind of rolled with my hand in my belt for a long time.
You just came back from a knee injury yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even all the way back. And still, like, in that process, like, how do I make this work within these restrictions? And then later, when the injury is healed, when those restrictions aren't there, great, I've got 9 new tricks And hey, I'm not afraid of you holding my wrist in place. I don't even need that arm.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go even a step further. It definitely makes your jiu-jitsu better. But when you first start off and you're training around an injury, and you're like, that thing is now out of bounds. I don't use that thing, or I train around it. Is really, really frustrating. It's constant, like mental bonk, crap, I can't do that. What can I do? So a lot of working around problems, problem solving, going slow, and like I think a lot of people probably quit at that point and they're just like, whatever, I'll come back when I'm not injured. But if you can force yourself to push through it, I would go so far as to say you figure out like deep esoteric things about jiu-jitsu that you would normally never ever see because you're not normally restricted in such a harsh way.
Yeah.
You find out some deep fundamental truths about jiu-jitsu and yourself that are really, really profound. And not only do they make your jiu-jitsu better, but they teach you about yourself. I think one of the things that I realized was, like, in a very real way, how effective it is to attack someone on their left side if they're right-handed, because that was all I could do at a certain point. And when I went back to trying to attack their strong side, I was like, oh, this is dumb.
Yeah.
They're all defending and smart and strong. Ugh. But I only figured it out because I had to.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think that we're fairly close to a pithy saying there, right? Like
Pithy rejoinder?
right. There's almost we're close. Something like
Ooh.
experiencing abnormal circumstances pushes you beyond your normal game. Or something in that vein. But
Pushing you out of your comfort zone expands your comfort zone.
certainly, and that's true of anything at any time, but really, really applicable to jiu-jitsu and injuries. Yeah,
You take a much closer look at something. You see stuff you didn't see before.
absolutely. And that's another thing I've noticed about my breaks or setbacks, and particularly the ones where I'm off the mat. I've had life circumstances and different things that,
The real time off the mat.
yeah,
Time off the mat.
yeah. So I noticed that my thinking about jujitsu kind of changes when I'm on that long break, but when I come back, it's as though I've chewed through all the mental grit, and it's ready to process again. I've noticed, like, I'll take a long break, and then things that weren't making sense or my reflexes were behind are suddenly clicking. Right? Like, I got the rest to finally let that growth catch up, and then I got back after it. So I think in those situations where you have injuries, where you have setbacks, where you have time away from jiu-jitsu, I think you can do yourself a serious service in celebrating your rest, celebrating your time to recover. If you think about it in a bad way, it's going to be a bad thing.
And you can make it worse.
Right. But you have a choice, right? You can think about your time off the mat as rest, as recovery, just like a bodybuilder does, right? Like you don't get gigantic by breaking down your muscles every single day. You break them down twice a week, and then you rest and build up the rest of the time.
When you go camping, you really celebrate being dirty and just wallow in it. Because the rest of the time, you stay clean. You brush your teeth, you wash your hands, you wash your hair, you shower regularly, you wash your gi every time.
Every time.
But when you go camping, you can get into that dirty.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a thing that I first noticed in wrestling in high school. I'd have a wrestling season, I'd be working on these skills, some skills, like the coaches, or I'd be pushing myself to learn. it just wasn't there. I couldn't get the move to work. In the off season, I did other stuff. I did football. I got fat. But then the next season, when I come back, some of those skills would be online. And now there's a move that I could pull off, no problem. And then when I studied psychology, I kind of conceptualized it as like the subconscious. Like subconscious is poorly named because it never turns off. It's always thinking. It's always chewing on stuff. So my subconscious was chewing on those moves. When I went back to wrestling, they're like, oh yeah, here. Da, da, da. And some of the other stuff maybe that I was working on, or that I was doing, but it's still a new skill. Like I had to grade it, and I had to like pick that back up again. But there was like definitely stuff that I couldn't do before, and then all of a sudden I could do it 9 months later after having not practiced it at all,
Right.
or thought about it or anything.
Yeah.
I was a kid, like, whatever. It's not in front of me, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I've had very, very similar experiences. And then I think it's Sean, brilliant question. I think meditation goes right in there with all those things, right? You establish a good meditative practice and right, kind of turn off that conscious brain for a little bit. Let your subconscious chew, or let yourself focus on one thing and chew on that specifically, or teach yourself to rest completely, active rest, and let that. Yeah, I think meditation can work into both the recovery and the learning piece around setbacks really, really nicely.
Yes. Also, jiu-jitsu itself, training can be a meditative practice. Become engrossed in what you're doing. Like naturally, it's a good, like for someone that has trouble sitting for an extended period of time. The beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu, right, is when someone tries to choke you or break your limbs, you naturally become very, very focused in the moment on what exactly is going on right now, because they're trying to choke you out. You're not thinking about going to the grocery store later or what your boss said, right? It naturally brings you into that semi-meditative state, meditative state, whatever. So working on expanding that, getting better at it. I push my students to flow train. I do it in different ways. Like I won't let them do submissions. I'll try to get them to keep moving, not get stuck in a certain spot, but just kind of like let it flow to help ease that. It's so natural. It's like the old man disease where they get in there and train and they grab them and they hold them and they squeeze them as hard as they can because they're scared. It's a natural fear response, but it's not helping their jiu-jitsu. It's not helping their partner's jiu-jitsu. So just learn to let go. It's not my specialty. I hold on.
Right.
Grind on it. Chew on it mentally. Keep rolling around with my brain.
A lot of that. One of my favorite examples. One of my favorite examples to do in class. Right? It's like you do the grip break, and then what stopped existing once I broke that grip? Right? Just the grip. The hand still exists. The collar still exists. I can get it all back. I don't have to hold on death grip all the time. Let go. And come back. Let go. And come back. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Sean, hope that helps. All right.
Benefits of meditation. And the benefits of meditation are huge and well documented, but refocusing your mind, letting go of stuff that isn't now, right? Catching yourself thinking about tomorrow or shit you said in the past, and just letting go of it, right? I imagine a tree, big healthy tree, and a dead branch, and I grab it, and I break it off, and I toss it, and imagine the tree even healthier. Those things you did in the past, those things you may do in the future are not the reality, right? The reality is this. right here, right now. So bring yourself back to that over and over. Topic number 2.
All right, this just in. Kevin asks, in a similar thread to being intimidated by higher belts, have there been moments in your jiu-jitsu careers where you've been underestimated by a higher belt, only to then beat them in a row?
Absolutely. Kind of taking a step back from the personal, but like training yourself to beat someone, even if you think you can't, is a great mental skill. The highest level fighters, you hear them in interviews, not that they think they can win, they are convinced that they will win. It's like a level of delusion, but then they manifest it into reality. But most people don't have that level of confidence. So training yourself to be able to beat someone better than you is an excellent life skill, right? Worth working on. Have you ever beat someone that was a higher belt than you, Professor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there have been a few occasions, but the most notable of which was the last tournament I did as a brown belt. Yeah, it was Super Cup 1. Yeah, so I got to fight.
Super Cups, I remember those.
Yeah, there was
two,
three, maybe 3.
I remember 2.
There were definitely 2.
I was at 2.
There might have been a 3rd. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it was Super Cup 1. And so it was like a brand new thing, but the organizers of the event invited like people to kind of up the stakes to make it, like have some pop to it. So one of their friends,
Spice it up.
yeah. So one of the friends of the organizing group came out from Brazil. It was Pedro Lott, who had won the Brazilian national championships a year or 2 before. And then the other person in the division was Travis Stevens, who had gone to the Olympics
Heard of that guy.
like a year before. He took bronze that time.
He's pretty good at judo.
Yeah. And at that time, he was a brown belt under Henzo. So he was at the Olympic Training Center in the Springs, and so they invited him out. And so the division was black belt Brazilian national champion, Olympic bronze medalist, and Charlie from nowhere.
Charlie Hustle.
Right? Just like, so, yeah, so I got Pedro first round. And
did you make triangle?
I made triangle. Immediately before the bell, like before the match started, I made heart attack. I was like terrified.
Yeah.
And that's my pattern, like in tournaments anyway. It's like my first match, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like all I can think of, my head goes completely blank.
Fear response.
Yeah.
Deer in the headlights. Sounds get weird. Lights seem really bright.
Well, a little bit of that, but most I'm just like dead staring at the guy. Like he's gonna kill me. I gotta kill him first. He's gonna kill me.
Deer in the headlights.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like I'm not gonna stand there and stare at him. Like, no, I've got to charge forward and kill this person as fast as I can because they're definitely gonna kill me. And so yeah, it was that first match, and he pulls guard, and I start to pass, and something went goofy. I don't remember.
Jiu-jitsu
happened. I made triangle. It's funny. I watched that video a couple months ago now, but even like all this time later, I watched that video, and like just at the finish, you're the loudest person on the sideline. it was pretty funny.
I've got a good teacher voice.
Yeah.
I've been working on it.
Yeah. So yeah, was underestimated by a higher belt, and
Oopsie.
yeah, got him. And then very shortly thereafter, I got my black belt.
In a tournament, that's kind of like the perfect storm where you could look at it one of two different ways. Like A, they're way better, they're well known, you're gonna lose, or B, they're higher ranked, they're well known. There's no pressure on you to do anything. You might as well take your shot at them.
Oh yeah. 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 I mean, not like a pro fight. I don't feel like I was underestimated. Right. I feel like that was just kind of unknown, but it was still the same thought process on my part. Oh God. Look at all the everything going on. I gotta kill that guy.
Yeah. Go make triangle.
Yeah.
So for me, my experience where I trained with the most people that were better than me was when I lived in Brazil. You know, like when I first went down there, we'd do the technique, and then for the training portion, we'd all line up in order of rank. All the non-black belts would be on the wall in order of rank, and all the black belts in the middle. And when I first went down there, it averaged like 12 to 14 black belts on the mat every night. And like multiple world champions and famous people, Hydra rolled through, and like all sorts of stuff. And they'd pick you out and you do 10-minute matches until everyone was done. So I got a lot of experience with people that were distinctly better than me at jiu-jitsu. And my takeaway was staying in the pocket. The pocket's a boxing term where you're just close enough to them to hit them, and they're close enough to hit you. And in jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit more of a mental pocket. But I trained with someone, and they were way better, and I'd stay, I'd get a sweep or a pass or whatever, and I'd have to defend. Defend. But mentally, I would stay in the pocket, right? And when I saw an opening for a move that I could do, I would go for it, right? And if I didn't stay mentally in the pocket, like if I was beating myself up, or I decided I would lose, or whatever, just too tired to pay attention, then I wouldn't notice that moment. I wouldn't be able to jump on it, and I wouldn't be able to turn the corner. But I found that if I could focus on, no matter how much I had to defend, but like staying mentally in the pocket and waiting for my chance, almost every match at some point, there's going to be some sort of opening. And in this way, I could beat people that were distinctly better than me at jiu-jitsu, sometimes here or there, whatever. But you learn a lot about yourself, and your jiu-jitsu gets a lot better putting yourself through that, teaching yourself to stay in the pocket, to not give up. Even if you're tired, wait for your opportunity. No, don't rush it, right? Don't try to force a move that isn't there, and don't jump on any opportunity necessarily if it's a bad one, right? It's going to put you in a worse position, right? So it's not just a go, no go, but learning how to parse through that in a match and beat people that are better than you at jiu-jitsu, then get one thing, two thing, three down the line. When your moment comes, if you jump on it, you can turn the corner and put yourself in a position to win, or win a match outright at that time, right? That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. It sounds like the real jiu-jitsu. Right. What I think of as real jiu-jitsu, right? Like the not meeting strength with strength, not going head on, but accept, turn, manipulate, control.
Defend. I had to defend. Like they kept turning the corner on me. They get a pass, they get a sweep, they get a they get the knee on the belly, they get the mount, they attack, and then I could trap their arm, I could roll them over, whatever. Wasn't always pretty. Mostly was not pretty, matter of fact. But mentally hanging with it and taking the chances that were presented to me. Sometimes forcing openings. I mean, that's a part of jiu-jitsu too. But like staying in the pocket, mental, right? Hanging in there, biding your time if you have to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. We were kind of chit-chatting before we started recording about some of our favorite pieces of games, some of our favorite players. It did just occur to me though, kind of funny thought. There's lots and lots of fighters that are like, making a big splash, right? That are out there on the scene in a very big way. But that's not all of the good fighters.
Right, close.
Not even close. And so I think we're kind of in a good position, or in a far better position than large portions of our audience, I think, to kind of look at some of those fighters that people are sleeping on, some of those great things that are not getting, the big splashy attention right now, right? Like
the old legends that the kids don't know about these days,
right,
or the
right.
monsters that never won worlds for whatever reason, or
yeah,
innovators that never got their due.
Right. Like Terere was huge.
Yeah.
He was the man for a period of time, and now I don't hear a whole lot about him, except that I guess his charitable works are going very well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, like it amazes me these kids are sleeping on Terere.
Yeah. One of the very best in the world for a couple of years there.
Yeah.
I would say he almost beat Hodger in a tournament. And he definitely beat some big names I can't think of right now.
Yeah.
Should we run through the story, his story that as we know it first, or?
I only have like some kind of highlight points, I think. Yeah.
So what I heard,
Okay.
the word on the street
Yeah.
was he was in America and he's flying from one place to another. And mid-flight, I don't know if he had a panic attack or he had a disagreement with someone, but he got, I don't know if they had to do an emergency landing or whatever. He got arrested or something. He got into some sort of altercation in the air and ended up getting arrested and thrown in jail. And to my understanding, that was what caused him a lot of psychological trauma, like being locked up. Maybe something happened in jail. I don't know. But when he got out, I guess he did compete. Maybe he competed again a couple times after that, but he was never the same. And when I lived in Brazil, everyone said he's crazy. Oh, he's gone crazy. And I'd be like, okay, how is he crazy? And he'd be like, oh, I saw him on the street. He's smoking pot. Next person, oh, he's gone crazy. He's gone crazy. Okay, how is he gone crazy? Oh, I saw him out of this bar. He was drinking. And I was like, oh, okay.
Crazy.
All right. Then he started an academy in some of the favelas, or a favela in Brazil?
Yeah.
For poor students that can't afford it?
Yeah, my understanding is his academy is free, and he has some organizational efforts that's gathering gis and material, and yeah, he's just finding those kids that'd be out doing bad stuff without it and keep them in the gym.
Hey, that's what keeps me out of trouble. Training jiu-jitsu. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think going back and looking at his old matches, super helpful for anybody. His game was sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
A crazy backstep pass they would do to everyone.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else he was known for.
Yeah, super aggressive passing. His top control was killer. I think side control and mount attacks were. Yeah, he was one of the most athletic guys in the division too. Just physically talented.
Super explosive.
Yeah. Margarita. Talking about guard pioneers.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it the knee slice pass? In some academies, it's still called the Margarita pass.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Was he absolute world champion? Like
yeah,
2000, early odds.
I want to say
Absolute world champion, the pinnacle of the sport, the very best in the world.
Yeah.
Terere is Fernando Terere, and then Margarita. I can't remember. Also a delicious pizza.
Damn, now I'm hungry.
Fernando?
Fernando Terere. Yeah. And Terere and Tellez was his academy, so he and Tellez had an academy. And then Tellez, probably most of the kids these days don't know about, but famous for turtle guard, right?
Love it.
So such a different way of going about winning a match in Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember seeing it at so many tournaments. I never saw him win a major. Not to say that he didn't, but he was always like second or third. I saw him one time pulled close guard, grabbed the guy's collar, opened the guard, and turned to turtle. Exactly what I teach my students not to do every single day.
Yeah. Something like my favorite takedown sequence though. It's like shoves them backwards, takes a step, does the world's worst double leg, and then just falls down into turtle, giving up, I don't know, a third of the way through. It's
Hey, here's my back.
yeah,
And you want to attack it.
amazing.
Galval came up through Terere and Tellez.
Yes.
He was one of their students.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. I can't imagine Galvao's gone down in popularity, but if you guys are sleeping on old Galvao,
I think he won something in the last Abu Dhabi. Or he retired, but then
yeah,
he's fighting again. So I think people are
Super
at least
fights.
aware of him.
Well, and then too, with the Atos team and all that, they're staying pretty relevant. But like, let's see, who's come and gone? Nino
Nino Schembri.
Nino
Oh,
Schembri.
yeah.
Oh my god, I was obsessed with Nino Schembri when I was like white belt, blue belt,
The whole Plata.
purple belt.
Whole Plata master. He
Yeah.
fought some in the MMA.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that went. Obviously not that great. World champion.
Yeah, post championship. Yeah, I mean, I remember like really identifying with Nino and like wanting to copy that game because he was super duper flexible. And like, oh, that's weird, and I don't think everybody can do that, but I can do that.
Did some elements of what became rubber guard to get to his omoplata, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some grabbing of the shin over the person's back.
Yeah. Had some awesome like side control escapes, and just he had a lot of very different kind of grips. His no-gi stuff was downright weird, but worked. Is awesome.
Like, was his nickname Elvis? And he wore
Yes.
sideburns like Elvis.
Oh yeah, great big sideburns. He would come out like he would walk out to jiu-jitsu matches, right, with the cape on, the big sunglasses. Fucking awesome.
Sense of style.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of weird grips and cool, interesting stuff, Neil Melanson has
Mm-hmm.
right his whole like Irish collar series. A little different take on guard work, but interesting and useful.
I've seen some of his instructionals, but I don't know much about him.
I don't know much about him as a person either, but his game is interesting.
One of my instructors in Brazil, Jefferson Moura, black belt world champion, like outside of certain circles like no one's heard of him. He triangled me so hard, so many times. Like when I went down to Brazil, like in Boulder, I kind of had a reputation for not being able to be choked, which obviously is not true, but really, really hard to choke. And I thought, I'm not going to tap to this. He showed me otherwise. He taught me that, yes, you will tap to this. Over and over again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how hard you fight against it. He did a overhook from close guard,
Yeah.
and then to the triangle, and he'd set it up from a bunch of different ways. And that was how he won worlds, actually. That was like his secret, super secret magic move. And if you didn't tap to the collar grip, and you didn't tap to the triangle, then the grip in the collar and the punching in the side of the neck was going to get you.
The ugly?
The ugly.
Oh, the ugly.
Oh, Johnny O'Brien. The ugly.
I don't know what they call it. That it's beautiful.
Because it's ugly.
Okay.
So ugly, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a puck.
A pug. Speaking of Johnny O. Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome. Oh man, we were talking about. Or I was talking about Jean-Jacques Machado with somebody the other day.
Uh-huh.
Want to talk about a pioneer? Want to talk about invented some game, like
Uh-huh.
made things better? Holy shit, Jean-Jacques.
I think I still have his book somewhere. I used to thumb through that and study those moves
Oh yeah,
for a long time.
yeah. I mean, definitely the best of his brothers, and fucking brilliant grappling mind.
Trained under Hodger and was one of the best in the world, a legend, and did it all missing 4 digits.
Got
And has like one,
just the thumb, and
just kind of like a
little
partial
bit of-
thumb that he can
little bit
grip
of
with.
pinky,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's one of his like famous quotes is, "Never lost a match because of my hand." Like, fuck yeah.
Can't train because you're injured? Tell Jean-Jacques Machado that.
Right?
See how far it gets you.
Yeah. Choked.
Wake up and try again.
Right. Yeah. Jean-Jacques, so sick. Yeah. Like, shit. Honestly, we could just go rattle off like the big champions of back when.
Prito,
Oh my God. Pedapano.
Japano, yeah. Sugarfoot.
Yeah. Obviously, Braulio.
Obviously.
Victor Estima had very cool game. He made a little bit of noise on the scene for a minute.
Yeah. Monster Jiu-Jitsu for sure.
Yeah, Vitor's dope.
Really good at steam lock, perhaps unsurprisingly.
Right. A fun one for MMA. Anderson Silva's jiu-jitsu for MMA stuff. Awesome. Dudes. Yeah, Anderson. Like, kind of fell off, but retired, whatever.
Retired.
Yeah.
Let's go with retired. Every fighter gets old and gets past their prime.
Mm.
Most fighters don't do so with much grace. Because, by definition, they're fighters.
Right.
They don't specialize in letting go.
Yeah. What's the graceful way to be put out to pasture?
It's called retiring.
Yeah.
Retiring before you get your head kicked in publicly
Yeah.
and repeatedly.
The other Hibeto brothers.
Not Shanji and Salo.
No, but Ninja and Shaolin.
Yeah.
old school guys that
Ninja, probably most people don't know about because he never fought in the UFC, or maybe he did like once way back in the day. But Shaolin like had some lasting power.
Yeah.
But Ninja was the one I knew about first, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the crazy walkouts in Pride, or they
Yeah.
wear the ninja outfits or the whatever
Right.
outfits with the music, and the big crane would bring him down.
Dude, yeah, bananas, but good game. It's still going.
Yeah.
I mean, I taught Shaolin Sweep like 2 weeks ago.
Different Shaolin.
Different Shaolin.
No wait, I'm thinking of
Shogun.
Shogun. Yeah.
Yeah, you think of Mauricio Hua.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
That's
of.
Shogun. Yeah, and then there's whatever her name, Shaolin Hibero, and it's something Hibero.
Shaolin sweep. If Sean's watching, that's like his favorite sweep on earth. Is a Shaolin sweep. From Shield.
So, okay. Tying this back a little bit. Shaolin Sweep. I was teaching Shaolin Sweep a couple weeks ago, so I go back and review it. I'm looking at the pieces, and I kind of follow some threads. I'm watching some different instructionals and kind of follow the thread. And I kind of didn't realize, I discovered, I guess. It was new to me, not new knowledge in general, but I discovered like the thread between the Shaolin Sweep and Cyborg, the Tornado Sweep.
Right.
Like, oh,
One leg swing away.
yeah. Well, and the Shaolin Sweep is the basis, right? Like he did that one over and over again, and then adapted it and changed it just a little bit to make the Tornado Sweep. Having not realized that through line before, I can still execute both just fine.
Yeah.
I can still do both. I know I can use them,
Yeah.
but now,
you have used both over and over again.
yeah. But now going back and seeing, oh, this thing I like and this thing I like are connected, and one came from the other, is kind of reassuring. And okay, now I have an idea. Like I saw where this came from. I want to have an idea of where this might go. And so I think, just kind of going into our overall theme here, look back at those old school fighters, look back at those things that like not everybody's watching. Go back and look at those things that built up the thing you like now. The memory is short, but really doesn't have to be.
Makes me think of Jiu-Jitsu's naming problem for some reason. Shaolin Sweep is probably the exception, but I guarantee somewhere it's called something else. But most things, in one academy it's called a shrimp, another academy is called a hip out, and one academy is called the knee slice pass, another calls it margarita pass, another is called the knee through pass, another is called the I'm trying to think of a really good example of something that like has very, very different names depending on where you train. And so if you try to look it up, you may have trouble.
Leg lace.
But you may also 411 leg lace, Texas cloverleaf, that one's got a lot of names.
Saddle, inside ashigurami.
Yeah, cross ashi.
Whatever.
Yeah, so many names.
Right.
So when you go to look it up, you'll either start to learn those, or maybe you find out that that's just what it's called at your academy.
Like Erwingard.
Erwingard, otherwise known as
Anaconda or single leg X.
Or single leg X.
Yeah.
So it's not internationally known as Erwingard.
I don't know why that one didn't take off.
Mm.
It was so memorable to me.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think there's huge value in going back, even if the names are confusing, right? Like sort through that a little bit, but Know where your stuff came from. It gives you big context.
A little studying can go a long way too. You'll come across moves that you wouldn't necessarily just showing up to class. You're only going to be exposed to so many moves. And as your instructor used to say, like you'd flip the coin onto the mat and be like, that coin is everything I know about jiu-jitsu. The mats is all jiu-jitsu. So you start delving into that much larger pool, and you will find out a whole lot more.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So, seems like a pretty good place to call it for today. All right. Any big announcements coming up? Anything you want to draw attention to, Professor?
No.
All right. All right, guys. So, thank you again for tuning into another episode of the podcast. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down there. Let us know how we're doing. And then we'll see you in class.
Stay safe, stay strong, keep training. See you soon.